Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. All right, friends, I'm here for my September wrap up, and 2023 is just flying by, right? There's just no denying it. It is just ripping on by us. September was another really good month for me, although it feels like I did so much less in this month. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that August was that readathon that I did, and it just really pushed me to read a lot. And in September I just slowed back down a little bit, but I had some really great quality reads. I really did. And I still surprisingly, hit almost everything that I wanted, at least for getting through the books that were the top priority. There still is 2 days left of the month actually, but this is where we're rounding it off. I have a family vacation this weekend, and so the weekly wrap up is going to be like a day late. So you'll at least have the monthly wrap up when we would normally have the weekly wrap up, and then I'll still have like I said, the weekly wrap up coming up tomorrow, I hope, from when you're seeing this video, because my plan is to put this up on Sunday when it would normally be the weekly, and then Monday have the weekly wrap up. So we'll see. If you're new to these monthly wrap-ups, if this is your first month here with the Book Refuge, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. But this won't be me going over every single book that I've read. The way that I do things here is that in those weekly wrap-ups I just mentioned, I talk about every single book that I've read. The good, the bad, the ugly. I go a little more deep dive into those things. So when I do my monthly wrap-ups, it's really, wrapping up the month. We're gonna go through my stats. Stats are for nerds. I would love to know if you guys still are intrigued by my stats, if that's something I should just keep to myself, if you just want to know favorites and maybe the least favorites as well. I tend to not talk about those because I don't want to rant about books. I like my monthly wrap-ups to just be about all the wins of the month and stuff like that. Ouch. But that's where we're at with everything. So let me know if you still like knowing stats, or if you're just here to know what my faves are. It's no big deal to me because, again, I'm a nerd, so I'm going to do my stats no matter what. So it's up to you if you'd like to know that. It could be something I just share with patrons or channel members. I don't know. You let me know. But before we get into stats, let's do a couple other channel / the Book Refuge related, but not necessarily books. So I ended up getting my first two brand sponsorship, not sponsorships, that's the wrong word, brand rep positions ever. And one of them is for a company that I absolutely adore. And well, I mean, I like both companies, that sounded weird, but one is one that I actively use their stuff all the time and I'm super excited. And another one I have purchased from them before, but they're normally a little bit outside my price range, but now being a brand rep for them, I feel like it's going to be a little more accessible for me, so that's great. So the first one is I got a fall brand rep position with the Brightside Candles, which I had already bought candles from before because she did the lovely Brutal Birthright series here, which I haven't even burned these ones yet because I just adore them so much, but I have the Raylan and Riona candles. And I love those. I bought those with a sale, but her fall season candles launched, and I literally have used these up so much. I just put in another order for some. Hopefully it'll be here when I get back from vacation. But I just love them so much. So I have a 10% off discount code. There are these sizes. There's a bigger size. There's also wax melts, which I actually just got a wax melt warmer, wax warmer, I want to say wax melter, wax warmer, and I plan to get one that I can plug in as well. But I was at Joann Fabrics and they had one on sale for only $8, and I already had some wax melts that had come in book boxes before, but I didn't have a way to use them. I would just use them as decoration. But the Brightside Candles, they have wax melts of most of their scents, which is super cool, so I'm definitely going to be buying some of those as well. But the new collection has apple cider, it has golden skyline, there is a more musky fall scent. There's another one that also has an apple scent in it as well that I like, and I'm obsessed with these. Like I said, I've literally burned these every day since I got it. So I have my link code down to that below if you're interested. seriously, I'm addicted. I've used it so much. And I have used, when I place my order, like, we need to order, being a rep, your responsibilities, you know, include like ordering some of the new products, but some that she does still have some of. So if you're interested in these, you can. There are still Raylan and Riona candles left. You can get them in a set. But there also are some of the Ada. There's some Seb and, is it Arena left? I can't remember all the names right now, but this one is Ada, and this one has like strawberries, of course. And it's so, so good. So if you're interested in some of those, I have the code down below for that. Make sure you tell her that the Book Refuge sent you. And then another one that I got, and this one really doesn't have anything to do with books, so I don't know how I got this position. But if you are a patron, or I think I've mostly only talked about it in Patreon vlogs because, again, it doesn't have anything to do with books, so I don't bring it on here. But I got a brand ambassador position with Nerdy Nuts, which is so funny to talk about. It really is. It's really funny to talk about. But they are this like small batch peanut butter company. So yes, if you are allergic to peanuts, that is very very sad to share. They do have some almond butters, but of course everything's made near where peanut butter is, so you wouldn't be able to get that. But they do these kind of like niche fun types of peanut butters, and they came across my For You page once, and I was hooked. And so I've actually been buying their products since like well, I think it was Easter that I first got it, because there's a flavor for Easter that I was obsessed with. That was a carrot cake flavor. Literally, I can eat it by the tubful. But their prices are super reasonable with them, and they're actually from South Dakota. And they actually have a shop where if you are from South, like not only if you're from South Dakota, but if you go there to Rapid City, you can do a like make your own jar, and they have all the different kinds of peanut butter bases, and you can add in the toppings and stuff. So they I had applied for this brand ambassador position last quarter, and I didn't get it, and I was like, that's okay. It was a little outside of my purview anyway. But then they were closing it again, and I was like, whatever, I'm just going to throw in, I want the discount code. So it was another thing of that, because also when you get the position, you get one free jar, and then you get your discount code that you can use yourself as well as everyone else can. And I immediately did that. I'm very excited. My order is going to get here while I'm on vacation, but they are like shelf stable for, depending on the type they make, usually up to like 6 months, but they're not going to last you that long. I just eat them so quick. So I also will have links down below to Nerdy Nuts if you're in the US and you're interested in those. But be warned, they taste so good. So that's enough advertising for other things, but I was really excited to get those. That feels like something that not everyone can count on getting those things. But I don't know, it just felt really cool to get both of those positions, and they're both for things that I really, really like. So there's a lot of like brand rep or company rep positions I haven't gotten in the past that I really, really, that I really, really want to get, and I don't. And for these, they're both ones that I wanted, but it was both situations where I was like, I probably won't get this, let me do it. And then I did, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So anyway, I'm totally for self-promo and pushing what helps the company. So check out my links for that down below. Also this month, Etsy shop has still been going great. You guys have been so supportive of that, and it just means so much to me that you help keep the Book Refuge afloat. Every one of you, from whether you're just watching this video to those of you who honestly have invested a lot in my small business over the years, all of you are important to me. And with that, if you haven't yet, please give this video a like and subscribe, and we're gonna get into the stats and favorites of this month. So starting this off, here I have my beautiful notebook. So I have all my stuff written inside here, of course, using my lovely stickers from Love and Words. I love her stuff. So I read 40 books in the month of September, and this was about 12,652 pages. These were in the formats of 16 ebooks, 19 audiobooks, 13 physical books, and 11 ARCs, which was really exciting. I got to read a lot of early copies of books that I was so excited for. And 3 of those books of which ended up being favorites of the month, which is great. Okay, the subgenres of these books were, I had 22 contemporaries, 3 historicals, 8 dark romance, 1 erotic romance, 1 science fiction romance, 1 paranormal romance, 2 fantasy romance, 1 dystopian, and 1 non-romance, which of course was The Inheritance Cycle, because I'm working my way through a reread of that series. The star ratings of these were, I had 3 new 6-star reads that were all brand new to me. None of those were rereads this time, which is cool. 5 5 stars, 7 4.5 stars, 14 4 stars, 5 3.5 stars, 3 3 stars, 1 2.5 star, 1 2 star, and 1 DNF. The top tropes for this month for me were, as always, forced proximity, age gap, small town. Those are always the same. Like, those are always there. That is the era that I live in right now. But a new one in here is we did have virgin, which is either hero or heroine. One of them is a virgin. And friends to lovers. I read a lot of friends to lovers this month, which is very new to me. It's not that I dislike friends to lovers. It's just that I usually gravitate more towards dark romance and fantasy and stuff, and that's usually going to be in enemies to lovers, because those are the tropes that are most popular with those. But to have friends to lovers pop into the top 5 was really cool. All right, now what you've all been waiting for, my top 5 favorite reads of the month with an honorable mention, which we will start with. And it's actually the book that I just finished last night, and I actually had already prepped most of this video, so I do still think that it is, you know, it's very close to my top 5, so I wanted to mention it. And that's going to be These Two Wrongs by J. Wolfe. This is the next book in her Savage Academy series, which is a part of her Savage U, which also plugs in with other books in her series as well. Because her, like, Boy Obsessed series she's got, or The Harder They Fall, is that the series? Yeah, The Harder They Fall series also, like, plugs into this world as well. But this was a new adult boarding school romance, and this one was about Delilah, who is a twin. Her twin sister is actually autistic, and that is a bit of, well, it's not like owned voices as in Julia is not autistic and she's not a twin. She actually has twin sons, and one of her children is autistic, and I thought that was a really cool way to include that in, and there's a beautiful nod to her family. But then the hero in this one is Reese. He was a very tortured boy. He also had a very unique way of thinking about things too that I really enjoyed. I wouldn't have called him neurodivergent for sure, but he definitely has a unique way about thinking about things. And so this couple, Delilah and Reese, they actually, you know, they've known each other for a while. They're friends, our friends. Or like her friends are dating his friends, like that stuff that's happening there. And one of his roommates, it's not his friend, but one of his roommates actually offers to pay him to keep Delilah busy so that he can get with her sister Evelyn. And Reese doesn't really give a shit about his roommate and what he wants, but he does need money for something. There's a reason why he needs money, even though he's going to this boarding school, which would make you think that he's a very wealthy kid. Like, there's some stuff in his life that he needs money for. And so that, of course, is going to put him in a sticky position. It reminds me a lot of like the wager trope, which I'm not a fan of at all, but I don't know, somehow Julia Wolfe made it work for me in this one. It really did. I enjoyed it so much. And I think a lot of it has to do with how they start. So these two actually end up having a one-night stand, or it's actually during the day, and it's bad sex. Reese is bad at sex. He doesn't take the time that he should, which for 2 reasons I love. Number 1, I love whenever a couple starts with like bad sex. I really do. I like it. And number 2, it also makes sense to me because, like, these are teens. These are 18-year-olds, okay? They are not just sex gods the first time that they try it, especially, and this wasn't a virgin, like, it's not virgin trope, but I mean, you get the point. Like, you aren't just automatically a sex god, no matter how much porn or books you've read. There still is, you know, the individuality of each person and, you know, you being patient and listening and attentive, and Reese isn't those things. So they have a pretty crappy scenario, which, I mean, he thought was good, but she did not. And when she starts giving him the cold shoulder afterwards, he's like, why are you treating me this way after we had sex? He's really offended. And she's like, did you think that that was good? And he's like, tell me what was wrong. And she's like, don't make me tell you. But then she does. She tells him, and now he wants her to teach him to be better. So there, of course, needs to be a very large grovel in this, because when the information comes out about him being paid to a certain degree, things are going to get real ugly. But what I enjoyed about this is, you know that it's coming, and I think that the author gives us a realistic amount of time after that event for us to believe that they would work it out. And I appreciated that. I think the grovel had its due. There was definitely some trigger warnings in this one having to do with body trauma. Like, our heroine is plus size, and she has a lot of trauma that comes with that. Our hero has been abused by his stepfather, but in some very manipulative ways. And there also is some casual drug use on page, but it wasn't bad at all. It really was just one scene of it that I see it. And there is mention of a family member using drugs as well. So there's that. Okay, so that was my honorable mention, and I spent more time on that than I meant to, but I just finished that last night and I really wanted to talk about it. So the first book that I gave 6 stars this month is the one that I literally feel like I haven't stopped talking about it, but I love it so much. But I won't go into as much depth with this one because, as I said, I've talked about it in so many videos recently, but that is Here With Me by Brooke Montgomery. So I discovered this book when there was a post someone shared that the author was doing a free audiobook of the novella in the series, the one that starts off the Sugarland Creek series. And I was like, ooh, that looks pretty. It had narrators I like. I listened to it. I loved it. And there's a setup for this couple in there. At the end of that book, we're kind of seeing a peek at what's happening with Noah and Fisher. And so this lovely book, with the inside pages of this lovely book is an ex-boyfriend's dad. It's a one-night stand, and then she discovers who he is afterwards, and so she's like, I can't have anything to do with him, because she is friends with her ex, and the hero is actually in town to be near his son, because he has kind of messed up being a father in previous years, and he's trying to make up for that. So he's come to the town where his son lives. So it wouldn't be good if he was getting with his son's ex-girlfriend. But turns out he actually got a job at her family farm. He's now the farrier. And so there is Sugarland Creek, which is actually a resort ranch. And what's so cool inside this, let's see if it's here. There's actually like a map of the whole place in here. I love it. And when you listen to it too, I mean, you can read this yourself. There is kind of the like explanation of like what a typical day is like there. There's an itinerary. And so our heroine, she is actually a trainer there. And so he's the farrier. So they're working kind of directly together. And they have this crazy chemistry together. I think it was just beautiful, beautiful chemistry that they have. But they have some serious obstacles in their way because they both care about the ex-boyfriend / son. And again, the hero has some stuff to make up for. So this relationship that they are building that has such intensity, they really have to be careful or it could ruin a lot of lives. There is also a bit of a suspense plot going on that, as always with these small town, I'm like, why? It didn't need it. It really doesn't need it. However, I was so endeared by this couple. There are so many sweet moments in this. There are caretaking moments. There are precious things that I just love it so much. There is some trigger warnings of suicidal attempt. It begins with that. You can, I think she says even like, you can skip the first, the prologue and you'll skip a lot of that, but there is reference to it. There also is loss of a child, grief, and depression. So just be prepared for some of that. But I think that it all really informs who Fisher is as a character. There is also harm to animals, including one that has to do with the sabotage of an animal who's training that causes a small injury, as well as danger to a horse barn. So those always get forgotten when people do trigger warnings. I'm sorry, I'm an animal lover and I have issues with it. So there we go. All right, the next 6-star read that I had is another one I haven't stopped talking about. And by the way, I do have links to all of these books that I'm mentioning down below, either the ebook or the paperback, where you can go right ahead and order this as I'm talking about it. I always have links down below. There was Worth the Fall by Claudia Connor. this was a viewer recommendation, and it's one that I put on my TBRs, like, we are going to give this a go. This is a single, pregnant, widowed mother who's on vacation with her 4 children and 1 on the way. Her husband died 6 months ago. She is 6 months pregnant. She had a very strained marriage with her husband, so she's not necessarily missing him too much. And she's a woman that doesn't have any family. She was orphaned very young. She was kind of passed around from foster homes. And so really her children are her family. I mean, of course they are, but they are like the entirety of her world. And she's very overwhelmed. They're all like under 5 years old. But she's taking them on this vacation because they deserve it and she wants it. And we first come across this family through our hero's point of view, who his name is Matt. Matt. Makes me so happy. I love Matt so much. Matt, Matt is a Navy SEAL. He is currently still like active duty, but he is on a short leave, and he ends up going on vacation with a friend. He's driven down there, and this friend is there. He's going to help him hook up with some ladies, and Matt's just really not interested. And while he's on this vacation on the beach, he gets hit by a small foam football that gets thrown at him by one of these kids. And he's kind of instantly charmed by this woman. You know, he can tell that she's pregnant. He sees her with these 3, but he never sees her husband there with her. And so there are these few interactions that he has with his family, and then before we know it, he is ingraining himself in their lives so tightly that it's just like the earth moved and now they are his world. But there are some barriers in their way. Number 1, it all feels like it's happening very fast. It is very fast. Number 2, he's still active duty. And our heroine does have a lot of abandonment issues, not only from, you know, being orphaned, being passed around from home to home, having her husband die, and then having a man who is always going to be leaving her because he's active duty military and it isn't something he's planning to get out of anytime soon. Can she put her heart and her peace of mind at risk again for someone who literally each time he says goodbye could be the last time because he does special ops for the Navy SEALs, right? So it's a big risk for her heart to take. But I absolutely love this couple, y'all. I cried so much from joy while reading this book. It's so beautiful. And the saddest thing is there are no printed copies of this book available. I actually reached out to the author. I was like, can you have there be more of these printed? I know that was an audacity to ask, but I was like, I adored this story so much. I need it. I was like, do you have any copies of it that I can buy? Like, what can I do? And her print rights belong to a publisher, and the publisher has put this book series out of print. Now, the audiobooks are available on AnyPlay. That's where I ended up listening to books 2 and 3. This one I read on my Kindle, but there are none, and this is not KU either, so you will have to buy the ebooks. But I promise you, if you like single moms, if you liked The Takeover, if you like that kind of, you know, falling in love with the kids as much as the couple, you will like this book. I promise. You can trust your money with it. It's fantastic. It is a very low steam book, but the romantic connection should not be scoffed at. This was earth moving for me. And it's, oh man, it's probably going to be in my top 5 of the year. That's big words, but like, I can't see it being less than that. We'll see when it's time to reread everything, but this just stole my heart. And I did read the next 2 books in the series, mostly so that I could see more snippets of Matt and Abby, because the rest of the series takes about 10 years, like they're spread out. And getting to see like Matt and Abby and their kids as they go, like, it just makes me so happy. I love it so much. So that was a 6-star read, and it was beautiful. All right, then I read Salt Kiss by Sierra Simone. This is the first official book in the Lioness trilogy, but you do need to read Salt in the Wound, the prequel, first, okay? So I really would consider these 2 here. You gotta read this one because of how it sets up this book. So this one explains how Isolt and Mark end up in an arranged marriage. It has some of their first interactions together. We get introduced to Mark's club and the kind of kinks that he's into. And then it leaves off with kind of this cliffhanger of the heroine meeting Tristan, who is Mark's bodyguard. So then when you dive into Salt Kiss, which thank you to Bloom for sending me a copy with the pre-order incentive inside, which is fantastic. We are in Tristan's point of view for this whole book, and he is getting hired to be Mark's bodyguard. So him meeting Mark and becoming his bodyguard takes place, I think, 6 months or so before the end of this book. So this book starts taking place in here. And then at a certain point in this book, we catch up to where we are there, but it's all from Tristan's point of view. So he is a virgin. He is bisexual. He is, his, sister, his aunt's, I can't remember how it works out, but he's, okay, how would this work out? So he's Mark's sister marries his dad. So it's his uncle-in-law. So he's his nephew-in-law is how it is. And he ends up getting this job. And before he can ever get the job, he needs to fill out his own like kink waiver, basically. He has to fill out his own thing because he's going to be with Mark almost 24/7. He will just live a couple of floors below him. They like live above the club and everything. So it's like all there. And so he even has to like consent to which things he's willing to like be his bodyguard while is happening. It also gets shared with Tristan by just people around Mark that Mark used to have a sexual relationship with his previous bodyguard, and it was a mutually like beneficial thing because his bodyguard was submissive, and it was for convenience because, you know, the one protecting him is the one fucking him, so it's like, you know, as it is. And Tristan becomes very interested in possibly also being that position as well. He didn't even know he was into these kind of kinks, and still he starts following Mark around. And so it's that kind of story in an MM where like someone's being introduced to kink and being into it and then wanting to be the submissive of the dominant that they see. But Mark is like, hey, you don't want to be involved with me. I will use you all up and spit you out. I'm never going to love you. There's never going to be more than like sex between us. And Tristan is like, bet, I'm in. It's fine. But things then get really complicated because, as I said, this is going to catch up to this book when Tristan finds out more about Mark and what Mark's future plans look like and how Tristan might be involved in those. So I don't want to spoil just everything for you. This does have a cliffhanger. The next one, Honeycut, isn't coming out until early next year. But I don't know. This was fantastic. You should support Sierra Simone. She writes such good stuff. Like, I'm always nervous to read one of her books because she just likes to torture us. But this was so beautiful. And like sweet baby Tristan, I always love a Tristan. Let's be real. Tristan and Reese, they're the two names. I always am going to love him. And I adored this. So I gave it 5 stars. It is very sexy. There is lots of kinky things that Mark does to Tristan and Tristan accepts. And so it's pretty hot. It's pretty hot for sure. All right, next up, there was another new release, Peaches and Dreams by Juliet Cross. This was a 5-star read for me, and I loved it so much. This is the 4th book in the Green Valley Hero series, and it's the 2nd one that's written by Juliet. Yes, you can read each of these individually. I haven't read the books that are by other authors. I've only read Juliet's. Parks and Provocations came out, what was that, one or 2 years ago at this point? I can't quite remember, but it was a little ways ago. And it's in this Green Valley, and it does connect in with some of the other books in like Smarty Pants world. But again, I don't know which ones those are, and I don't really care. I'm in it for Juliet. That's what I'm in it for. So this one is a single dad, Wade, and our heroine's name is, oh, did it just go out of my head? Wade is the hero. That's what I remember. I can't remember the heroine's name, I'm sorry. But Wade, he's a single dad. He is redheaded and bearded, and he is a gruff country type of man. And our heroine, Marley, did it just come to me? She makes moonshine. And she ends up wanting to enter this competition, and she's going to make a peach moonshine. And she knows that our hero's grandfather was a moonshiner, and Wade ends up offering to let her use the cabin where they do the distilling at, and that gets them in more of a forced proximity. And also she totally loves his little boy, and Wade is really into her. There isn't a ton of angst about him being into her. He's just very hesitant to be with anybody because he you know, doesn't want his son to be like, you know, he wants the person, whoever he's with, to be good with his son. And, you know, she's perfect for that. She's literally perfect for that. So, yeah, I enjoyed this couple so much. And it was so sweet. There was some really cute scenes. And it was a pretty low angst of a story. Like, it was pretty low angst level. So, but it was hot. There were some hot, steamy scenes. And the heroine has an outrageous mouth. I'll just say that. She's outrageous. And then the last book that I recommend, which we still don't have like an official release date, but the author, you know, when we got the ARC, she said she would release it by the end of the month. And that's literally, so maybe it's out now, maybe it's not. If the pre-order is up or the link to it is up, it will be down below. But either way, it's coming soon, and keep your eyes out for it. And that is Return to Monte Carlo by Kate C. Wells. This is a standalone. It is set in the 80s in Monte Carlo, and it involves this married couple who is just having their first anniversary, and things are not going well. Our heroine is living with the hero and his family. She is a much younger wife than he is. She's only, I think, 20 years old. They married when she was 19. She was a shop girl, and they had this amazing connection. When he came in to get, I think it was actually to Barbara, he came in to get a shave, and she ends up nicking him, and they end up fucking in the broom closet there. Now, we don't start with that. This starts with them being married and this disastrous anniversary night that leads her to leaving. I don't want to spoil how it all plays out, but it leads to her leaving. And then 5 months later, her realizing she's pregnant. So it is like kind of a secret baby, but she doesn't keep it secret for long. She doesn't know that she's pregnant in the beginning. And we skip over that part of her not telling him. Like, she knows she needs to tell him. So she reaches out to him, doesn't get a hold of him, gets a hold of his assistant, who's being a stuck-up bitch. We don't like the assistant. Okay, we don't like it. But the hero now, through this phone call, he finds out where she is. And he immediately shows up, realizes she's pregnant, and blackmails her into coming home. And she's just like, no, I'm not going to do it. And he's like, if you don't do it, I'm going to tear down everything that I've done for you and your family in the last year. So he blackmails her into coming home, and it's a total asshole thing to do. And if you think parts of this are reminding you of Run, Posey, Run, that's what this reminded me of. But it's a little more lighthearted. They also have, their relationship is built on lust to a good degree. He, you know, kind of takes her from a rags to riches scenario. She's seen as a trophy wife and a gold digger by his family, and they're very cruel to her and say mean things. And he's very busy with his business, so he's really not around enough. You know, she is enamored with him. She loves him, but she's tired of being treated this way, and she refuses to put up with it now that there's a baby coming. And so she really is showing him her fiery side. And number one, he's extremely attracted to that. So yes, there are a few anger bangs within this story, but there's also her saying, like, I won't be any more than a thorn in your side if you continue to act this way. And I really enjoyed how she pushed back and how she fights back to him, and how he's coming alive to the ways that he messed up and realizing that's not the type of husband or father that he wants to be. And so he's willing to make some changes to do that. So this is a bit of a shorter one, which, I mean, a lot of her best ones are, in my opinion. I feel like there's a lot of angst that could be drawn out in this story, but Kate C. Wells does it like a scalpel blade. Like, you are dropped into scenarios where your gut just feels so tight and you're like, oh, this is so awful. How could this hero ever walk his way out of this? But then you get his POV and you realize what he's thinking and the weight that's on his shoulders. And yes, the mistakes that he's made, but just also how much he does want this heroine and how much he wants things to be better between them. And that just like breaks me down so much, because I'm just like, oh, he's just a big gooey lump for her. And then I'm done. I'm done when they're a big gooey lump for them. Okay. I just am. I absolutely am. So I was here for it. So yeah, this was a 6-star read. Highly recommend. I hope you get your hands on it very soon. I can't wait to get a physical copy of this, because number one, this is just gorgeous cover. Okay. You know, I'm not normally into the illustrated covers these days. I just don't love it. But this one, it's still such a unique cover. You know, it's not just flowers or whatever. Like, it just, and it shows so much love with them, and I like it. So yeah, this was a 6-star book. Highly recommend. So good. So there you go. That is updates for the Book Refuge this month, some things I got going on. If you'd like to support me in any of the ways I mentioned, all the links are down below. The books I talked about are down below. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to know when I put up more. And if you'd like to support in a stronger way, I do have links to my Patreon and channel memberships down below. Thank you very much for watching, friends. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.